How do I get humble? Because I think some of us are honest and like, I'm really not. How do I get that? And then how do I stay there? Well, Jesus, with this story within a story, this insertion that happens over and over again in Mark, what he's saying is how you get humble, how you stay humble is the gospel. It's the gospel. Because what humble people do is they gaze into the gospel mystery. They gaze into the gospel mystery. Because here's the deal. Your greatest accomplishment in which you would be prideful about absolutely has zero comparison. It pales in comparison to what Jesus has done on your behalf. John Stott says it this way. He says, every time we look at the cross, Christ seems to be saying to us, I am here because of you. It is your sin I am bearing. Your curse I am suffering. Your debt I am paying. Your death that I am dying. And nothing levels the ground and humbles us like the cross. Over and over and over again, Jesus is trying to get his disciples to focus on the cross. And the cross isn't simply a symbol. The cross isn't simply an event. It is. It's a place where Jesus died, right? It represents that. But it represents something far larger. It represents the gospel story, right? And this is what Jesus is trying to bring his disciples into. They're too focused on their own story. They're too focused on themselves. And Jesus is trying to get them caught up in something bigger than themselves and bigger than their own story. They were too focused on their own needs and the perceived needs of their nation. And so Jesus was constantly trying to get them. He's drawing them in, and he's trying to invite them into this mystery. A good mystery, you never know who the good guy is, the hero, and the bad guy, or the bad gal is. You never know, right? It literally, you have to watch it, a good one, until the end. And then the whole time, these clues are coming out. Well, who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? What really happened? Whose version of this story is true? This is what the gospel is like. It's a mystery. And over again, the disciples couldn't get it. But over and over again, Jesus is drawing them in. And here's what he's trying to get them to see. And here's what he's trying to get us to see. And this, oh, by the way, is the key to humility. What he's trying to say is, listen, guys, I have lived perfectly. And so you know what that means? You don't have to live perfectly. I have lived perfectly. You don't have to do there is nothing for you to prove. And there's no one for you to impress. I have lived the life that every person should have lived. And I will die in your place, Jesus is telling the disciples. I will do this. You don't have to punish yourself. You don't have to be full of guilt and shame. You don't have to be falsely humble. I will take the punishment. And I will rise again. So you do not have to compete with people anymore about who gets to be first and who's cool. You don't have to do that. I won. I conquered death. I conquered all that stuff that makes you feel empty. I will fill you because I am still alive. Come and gaze into the gospel mystery. And the mystery is this. We're humbled because Jesus had to die for our sin, and we're bold because Jesus was glad to die, and he gave us his right standing that he enjoys before the Father. He gave it to us. So nothing brings us low like the cross, and nothing exalts us in our confidence before God like the cross, because we are absolutely safe. We're completely safe to fully own our own weaknesses and our failures. And we are completely free to not compete with other people because our greatest failures have been forgiven. Our biggest competition is not anybody else, it's ourselves. And our greatest encouragement comes from God himself.